For the first panel for today, we have the topic for inclusive leadership, stories of empowerment and impact. And for that, I will quickly introduce our moderator for the day, Hitesha Mukherjee. Hitesha is a passionate advocate for inclusive leadership, blending her background in data science with a commitment to social impact. She's also dedicated to using technology to create a better world and empower those around her. So, on that note, I'll hand it over to Hitesha to begin the panel.
Hello, everyone. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We welcome our esteemed panelists to PyCon India 2024. So let me begin with the introduction of our first panelist, and this is it's in random order, so yeah. So the first panelist, Megha, she's passionate about meeting people. She's a developer, advocate, and she has worked with beautiful companies and top companies, Apple, Samsung, Microsoft, MongoDB, you name whatever company, she has worked for it. She has a stellar profile. So this is the first panelist. Round of applause, please. So our second panelist, Bhavani. So she's an independent software consultant and a founder of the Learning Deaf community. She has a vast open source contribution to her name, and one of them is Apache Airflow and also Pandas. And she's passionate about watercolor painting in her spare time. So please, a round of applause for her. And we have Anita. Anita is the CEO of CodePanu. She's a programmer as well. And her passion is teaching programming to the school kids. And she has also been instrumental in getting women back from career break. Her passion includes tech, data, open source. She has 11 years of corporate experience and 5 years of freelancing on top of it. So, yes, so huge round of applause for her as well. We have a stellar profile of the panelists. So, my first question to the panelists today is, what does inclusive leadership mean to you, and how do you practice it every day? Any of you all can take it.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me? So thank you all for coming. And I think this is probably one of the most least inclusive panel because it's all women and there are men here. Usually it's the other way around. So the thing is about DEI is you need to, I think part of your question is my answer, that you need to practice it every day. You need to choose it over and over again over the easy choice, and that's how you make it a habit of the culture of the organization.
Yeah, you can go next, Bhavani.
Yeah, for me, it's to have diverse set of voices at the table to ensure that there are diverse set of voices at the table, and like the panel where we have all women. And that's how we practice every day. We take a look around, and as today I was going to one of the open spaces, all men, one of the birds of feathers, all men, and stuff like that. Take a look around. If one of the diverse voices is missing, include them.
Absolutely. So I think just like our DNA is unique, everyone is unique, and everyone brings something unique to the table. Absolutely. So we need to have the eyes, we need to have the policies or processes, or even at least the habits or that kind of, conscious effort to include everyone. And even if someone is not giving their perspective, putting them on spot and making sure that, every little idea is heard.
It's a very pertinent answer. So I would like to ask the second question to them. So what are the misconceptions people have about diversity and inclusion, and how can we combat them and communicate more effectively? Yeah, you can go ahead, Bhavani.
I want to jump in and answer this because this is something I've been dealing with for the last 8 years since I started voicing for women in tech. It's not the minorities' job to make a systemic change. When I say minorities, people come from different backgrounds and different set of experiences. And the policymakers, it's their responsibility to bring change. It's not the minorities. We can only give voices. And even if you look around, women, when they get into the room, we talk about the problems, the problems, the problems. But the solution never gets to resolution because it's not talked at the right place. So that is the one common misconception, that it's not minorities' problem, it's the systemic problem. We have to recognize that. And the second thing is, the moment we talk about how women are put behind, or like how minority people are put behind, people take it very personally. They're like, I'm not biased. Why are you calling me biased? I don't have it. Like, bias is a basic human thing. Bias is nothing wrong. Even your machine learning models are biased these days. If you're biased, it means you're human. That's all. You don't have to take it so personally. It's not a fault. It's just you have to recognize your biases and get over it. That's all we're asking. It's not your fault. Two common misconceptions.
Yes, Bhavani, I think that is one of the most important points. Like, all of us have bias, but we all should strive to overcome it. I think at least after this panel discussion, I hope all of us have this one takeaway, that at least we should try to overcome the bias consciously. I think that's one of the most important aspects of change that we can make. Yeah, you can take up Megha. Same question.
So there is this very common misconception that when we create a diverse system, we are doing somebody a favor. But it's never that. Diversity is how human beings thrive, and businesses have understood that, and that's the reason they want to bring diversity and equality into the system. It's not a favor to anybody. So when we look at it as a favor, the way we approach it is very different from the way we consider it as a business benefit and look at it. So that's the misconception, I think, which businesses have understood very clearly, but it's not been communicated down to the policymakers. So they still think of it as a favor which they're doing for a minority community. It's somewhere, and who don't have a voice. That's what needs to change.
Megha.
Can I add like a relatable example? So I would say diversity and inclusion is not a favor. If there's a boat and everyone is on the same side of the boat, it will drown for sure. So diversity and inclusion is done so that they can come up with products which are equivocal and globally usable. And if, for example, for example, Apple iPhone, if they did not have an inclusive and diverse team, they will never think of using it just with a thumb. Maybe there could be a female who had a baby in one hand, or maybe a person who had a fracture of in one hand. So they would like to use it with one finger, and that is maybe someone thought about those kind of features and usability. And there is always subconscious bias, because the way we have been brought up and the societal structure we have. So sometimes it's not a conscious bias, but a subconscious bias, and we have to recognize that and try to correct it and move forward.
Yes, I think Megha has touched upon a very, very important point. Like, whenever the person is designing a UI UX, they have to keep everybody in mind. It's not about a boy or girl or gender. It has to be inclusive to everybody. So that is one of the very important points that you spoke of. And yes, as what Anita has said, we do need a policy level changes. And that has to be not only at the policy level. I feel it should also percolate to the mindset of the employees also. Like, whoever is working in the organization, I think all of them should also have that similar thought process and values about DEI. Then it can become successful. So I will ask the third question. So the third question is like, can you share a story where you have personally empowered someone in your team or community to be more confident in their abilities? Any of y'all can go ahead.
So my entire team is are women who came back after a career break of a few years. So I think every person's story falls under this category of coming back. And there's this one factor that I've noticed commonly across board, is that when a person takes a break and comes back, their confidence level is like close to zero. So I had this accountant who I hired once. I wanted a junior accountant because that's the budget I had, and somebody applied and I hired her. And so the first month went by very smoothly, and she took Katie. And the second month, the output she was delivering was at a completely different level. And then I went back, looked at her resume, and then noticed that she has about like 10 years of experience, and she has worked for a unfamiliar but big brand for as a senior manager level. But she did not even believe that she can apply as a senior manager anywhere anymore. So she had applied as a junior accountant. So, and then we noticed that, and then we corrected it for her. So I think anybody who comes back after a career break has to be empowered in some way for them to speak up again, for them to catch up whatever they've forgotten, and whatever the changes, transitions which happen within that their break time. Somebody has to help them do that.
Very well said, Anita. Yeah, go ahead.
So, Hitesha did a wonderful introduction for me and to add to Anita. But Hitesha missed that I am also a new founder and CEO. So, I started my own company a few months back.
Yeah.
And in that, since I started DevRel as a service, I needed both the social and content teams as well as engineering teams, because we were building some automated utilities as well. So, I can see extremely different personalities. Social and content are like totally extroverted, and engineering is you have to put them on a spot, be it a female or a male. You have to make them, speak up. So I think I am trying to change my engineering team, and I'm trying to match up the pace of Gen Z social team I have. So that is how I have brought some change in myself as well as the team.
I think everybody needs a push sometimes, and what Anita has mentioned, I think women on maternity break or anybody who's on a career break, I think everybody needs to have that small push, small, increase in level of confidence. That will be great for them as well, for the employees and the employer. Yeah, Bhavani, you can take up this.
I think both of them has touched upon very important topic. I think the fundamental thing is confidence. Right? At every level, once you have confidence, you can break open any doors that you want. And that's what I've been trying to do with communities as well. And that's what has been incurred to me from my mentors as well. Like she said, I was a very introverted person in college, even still I am. But I was put on a spot. I was asked to get on the stage and talk. And when I looked around, there was no women. I went to colleges and put other women on the spot. And when you talk to a room of about 100 plus women, probably 2-3 will turn to be figuring out what their potential is, and that is a good success rate. These 1-2 women I'm talking about, this one woman has went to their college, asked for a room in their hostel so that they can have a hacking session. They were like, women hacking? You guys will just gossip, stories like that. And then one woman moved all the way from Gujarat to Chennai just to study, and she don't know what she has to do after she graduates. If she goes back, marriage is the only thing that's waiting for her. And then she figured out her niche, and then she moved to Bangalore. Now she's working as one of the DevRels. So stories like this, 1, 2, 3, that's fine, but we still have to make those stories happen. And that's the uplifting thing. Even if it's 100, 2 out of 100, it's still worth doing it.
Yeah, I think you have touched upon a very good point, Bhavani. I think it's one thing I understood from this panel, and I think audience will resonate with me, is that there's a level of unconscious bias that comes into play, but I think all of us should make an effort to reduce it, and we should not discriminate based on gender or otherwise, whatever the orientation or any other diversity. I think we should give everybody a fair chance. With that, I will ask Anita a question. So, is there been any moment where you have questioned your own biases, and how did you address it?
Yeah, so this is one of the things which happened was, so since I'm again going back to this thing of bringing women back from career break, one of the things we do is our entire team works from home, because they have little kids who, they want to come back to work, but the kid comes back home around like 12:30 or 1, right? So they can work only from home, and they would also take like a half an hour or 1 hour break in between to go get their kid back from school. So all of that happens. So this, the story I'm talking about is one of our developer, and we were right in the, the cusp of actually releasing a model and, one of our products, and then she says, my child has chicken pox and I will not be able to come for a month for work, and you can I'll go on a loss of pay and absolutely fine with me. So anybody here, I mean, everybody here, I'm sure is working for some organization. We wouldn't take 3 to 4 weeks of break, even if we have chickenpox, right? Your manager is going to come home looking for you. So you would figure out every possible option to take less leave and come back to work, right? Now imagine somebody says that somebody else is sick and so they won't come back. So it's a culture shock. So you're not used to it. So because no matter what you go through, you have always turned up in office and worked. But then looking back, the bias was that I did not recognize that family is their top priority and will continue to be their top priority. And that's why they took a career break in the first place. If family was not, the top priority, not even equal to career, they would have come back after the maternity break. For them, taking care of the child was priority. So that bias I had to acknowledge and then understand that no matter how cool the work is, how interesting it is, it's always going to be a second priority, and I have to adjust my expectation accordingly. So I think that was probably a culture shock within your own company is not something what you expect. So
I think you have spoken really good about the bias, because I think it has to be a mindset, as you said, a shift within the mindset that, of course, in India, all of us have a family as our priority. So we, I think, should also have workplaces which work-life integration should be there. It should not be a token thing that, we have work-life integration, but I think it should be very much part of the ecosystem and the culture of the company. With that, I would want to ask Megha, your question is, what is the biggest challenge in the field of diversity and inclusion at the moment? And what do you think is for the women and LGBTQ groups, the challenges for them, and how do you address them?
Okay, very hard question. Some points I can borrow from Anita, so and some from Bhavani as well.
Yeah.
So creation of role models is one point which Bhavani touched on, that we don't have the right role models, and we look at, like, I used to look
Yeah.
at Asian women rather than Indian. So that is one of the biggest challenge, and then second thing is policy making. So what is happening, even if it is flowing from the top, people are following it, but they are not understanding the meaning, and
The
they're like, oh,
importance.
we are imposed with DNI.
Exactly, yeah.
We have to bear it. So that's where I think these are the two challenges. I'm sorry, I could not qualify one as the biggest. Both are
Both time equally, yeah.
equally important. And then I think we as women are brought up like princesses, and we are like, okay, don't do this, don't go there.
Restrictions
Yes,
of lot.
you will get hurt, you should not. So we are into that perfectionist zone always. And
Yes.
we are not supposed to do so many things. So we are afraid to try out. And that is why I guess when men is, no.
No
I am a
offense to
little
anybody.
opinionated, but this is some fact I read somewhere. So when men are 60% or something confident, they'll speak up, but a female needs to be like 90% and above confident. So if you think I was like this when I passed out, yeah, being a Punjabi, born and brought up Delhi, I have been outspoken, loud, but I think my company's changed me when I had allyship program as well as more DNI initiatives. One of my managers, he was from Dublin, so he told me you have to say no to me within the next month. So they trained me. Till now I was being trained, still I am being trained. And I think biggest challenge is, again, one of the things is career breaks. I don't have kids yet, so that is where I cannot relate or step into the shoes. But yes, it would be very difficult if you are working 10 to 12 hours and you are taking a break. So you might feel totally worthless, and you lose all your confidence, and you might not think that you are worthy, right? So I'm looking at Anita because I might not step into that shoes, but this is what my perspective is. And LGBTQI, I've worked with a few LGBTQI as I was being part of a developer advocacy team. I was working from a literally global team. We had one person in one country or that kind of thing. So I had a chance of working with LGBTQI. And I can say they can face the same things because they might adopt children, or they might live with their partners, they might have pets. And they also have their own challenges. They also have that like whenever I have spoken to them that, okay, this is a boys club thing, people are not listening to us, so they
Yes.
face the same challenges. So I think a lot of people need to be taught that why we need DNI. Then secondly, the females need to be more confident, learn to say no, be more vulnerable. I think I said that in Pi Ladies
Yes,
yesterday.
yes, yes. And I think one point that you mentioned that happens in interviews. I have read that somewhere that if girls are not very confident, if they are confident about their skill set up to 50%, they wouldn't apply for the job interview. But the same thing goes for boys. They have 50% of the skill set, they apply for the interview and they are very confident enough to speak. Nothing against anyone, no offense, but here we just want to say that girls should be equally vocal. They should come out. And as the panelists are saying, so I think we can imbibe such things in the organization as not only on the top level of management, it has to percolate down. Otherwise, there is no use of just having a token measure. It really needs implementation at the grassroots level, not only at the seniority level. You want to add anything, Bhavani, Anita, on the LGBTQI aspects also, in case?
This particular study I'm aware of, I just want to add one point to
sure,
it.
please.
This 80%, 50% is a very well-edged study. We don't have to apologize for anything. It's an established study. You can go look it up, and it has data in
Yes.
it. And it's not anybody doing anything to anybody else. It's not this is what I'm talking about, like systemic changes, societal structure, right? This is how women are grown up to be. This is what is expected of women. We have to be 100% sure of ourselves 24/7, and we are also human beings. We can't. And that's something as a woman we have to learn. We are perfect. We can make mistakes, and that's very human being a thing to do. And also looking at other peers, they're also not so perfect. They're also making mistakes. They are also showing up equally, but they're also equally unsure of themselves. That's for us to learn. This is a systemic thing that we are into. And also, Indians as a society, we are very humble down society. We don't show off that much. We don't talk about our things that much.
Yeah.
Everybody is laughing because everybody knows that. So that's a social thing, not a women thing, not an LGBTQ thing. It's just a societal thing. And the way we combat that is together, not by pitting against each other.
Yeah, I think that's one of the points. We women should be in support of each other. We should have role models. Role model is one thing which I think all the companies out there, we need to have more women role models. That will be very useful for the girls who are starting at the early career stage. They will have someone to look up to. So I think women role models and women at the senior leadership positions, I think all of you will agree with that. So that is, I think, one of the key factors for all the women out there. And yeah, I would like to ask Bhavani, what is the one thing we can do positively to impact diversity and inclusion, and how do you measure it?
I don't have a perfect answer for this, but I know somewhere there's a gap, right? So when I graduated, I was a very passionate techie. I was the only one in the class who would go to attend all the symposiums and programming competitions and whatnot, and I felt alone. And that is the story of almost every nerdy woman out there, if I could say that. And I can only talk for women because that's the only perspective I have. So when I went out, joined tech communities to incur that passion, there was not a lot of women around. And then I had to go and make that women thing happen, women tech makers happen, right? But what I forgot to see was the bigger picture. There is a lot of scholarships, a lot of outreachy programs, a lot of companies coming up with diversity and inclusion, which and all I found out way later, almost 4 years into the industry is when I found that out. So somewhere there's a gap. Even this conference has scholarships. Even the conference we conduct back home in Chennai has scholarships for women. But somewhere there's a gap that these programs are not reaching the right audience, right? So that gap, even I couldn't crack it today. But if we were able to crack it, where is that gap? So when I first started my Women Tech Maker, we couldn't bring women to the conference or a meetup or something. And the way we cracked it was when I was going through the meetup link, every picture has men in the front. Like every picture will be, group photo will be of men. So one event, we flipped that. We announced the event with a picture full of women. How we made this possible was college, women only event. And then the next event, it was all women showing up for that event. So it's some minor thing. It's not a major thing. It's not a social reformation. Some minor user
Tweaks.
behavior thing. If we change that, we can bridge this gap and we can make best use of all of this. And only via these minor tweaks, a major societal change can happen. I strongly believe that.
I agree with you. Spoken really, articulated it well. So, anybody wants to add anything among panelists? Megha or anything to that? You want to add something to that?
No, but that
Anita?
was a brilliant point. So what she is.
Yeah, she has articulated it very well. So, one question for Anita would be, what qualities do you think will make an organization equitable, inclusive, and truly diverse? And if you could implement one policy to make that change, be it for LGBTQ and women.
So, as a CEO and founder, I'm at the highest level of making decision, right? So, but even then, I can tell you that there is no one policy which is going to change anything, okay, because it has to happen at multiple levels. So, my team is about 30 women, and I very commonly joke saying that it's 30 women, and like JC says, but I have 99 problems with you guys. So, within just 30 women, we have a diverse of problems. So, there is no way we can have one policy to change this. But there are two things I can tell you. One is that we still don't have a mature system yet, right? We are still trying to figure this out. So any policy you take, any policy you make is going to fail. The failure ratio is going to be, rate is going to be really high. You know, you may have 40%, 50% failure. You may roll out for a women-only drive, and then you may recruit people, and half of them may not join. So your failure rate is going to be high, and it'll stay high until you do multiple revisions of any policy. So you need to account for that failure. You cannot say that I rolled out a policy and it's going to go great. No, it's not going to go great. It's going to fail over and over again till you figure out the right way to do that. So that's something we need to keep in mind across the board for any policy change we are making for DEI. And one other, probably a small tip, if not a policy related thing, is that it starts with recruitment. And if you do the recruitment right, if you project the company right there, then there is a good chance for you to, whatever comes, it comes after that. And so you basically set the tone for it at the beginning. So like how Bhavna was saying that we used to roll out, we bringing women back from a break was an accidental thing which happened. So we wanted to hire trainers who are available to take classes for our school students, and the only people who are available are women who are on a career break, who are available at the hours when kids come back from school. So when we did that, we realized when we wanted to hire an admin or an accountant, we said, why not hire another woman who's on a career break? So then after that, we started making that very conscious choice of bringing them back. But we were failing there because when we announce for an accountant, somebody who's working full-time somewhere would apply. Or when we look for a marketing specialist, somebody working full-time would apply. So the change we made was right at the beginning of the job description, we used to put a big, bold font saying, this job opening would be suitable for women who would like to come back, from a break, because we provide these things. And then comes the experience and what we're looking for and what's the job profile. That one change of moving something which was like a footnote below, right at the top, made a lot of change. So that's something, small things make a huge difference, but it's iteration over and over again till you figure it out.
Wow, that's a really good point. I think that one tip is really nice. We can actually incorporate that in our workspace, and that will make a difference. At least small change, as she mentioned, makes a big difference. With that, I would, the audience, any one of you have any questions? Yeah, you can come to that side, to your right side, and ask the question. Mike.
Hey, thanks for opening up this discussion. I run a small company with like 3 developers, and sorry, I'm here. And whenever I've worked with a lot of interns, and I've seen that over time that working with women interns is much easier because they're more they take code review very well, and so I found that it's great working with them. But I can't find applicants. Like whenever we do job posting or listings, we get so many male applicants. So do you have advice for, I don't know, some sort of portals where we can get more women applicants somehow?
Any of you all can take it. Any of you all.
Okay. So I think there are some women-only engineering colleges. You were looking for engineering interns, right? So IGDTW, you should definitely try to put the ad there. If you want, I can connect you to a few people from there. I have people in my social because I need engineering background people in my social. So I can connect you, and you can definitely get a lot of interns from there. I have been working with a lot of interns. There have been failures, like Anita mentioned, that where people had taken the offer and then they did not show up after that. But I also found a lot of good people. So can connect you, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Megha Arora, Devril Megha. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question back to you. Sorry, 1 second. What makes you hire only women for that particular role?
No, it's not just women for the we have just one role, that is senior software engineer we hire. And I've just seen that over the
Rest of
years
the
when you
question
give someone a
give us
code
the
review, for some reason girls take the feedback better versus men are like, they sort of try to fight you back. That sort of, I don't know why that is, but yeah.
Is subservient the word you're looking for?
No, not really. It's more like ownership of the code, I think. Like it sometimes it's like, oh, I've written this, it must be correct, right? Like sometimes it's just that, maybe.
All right, thank you.
You're right, actually.
Thank you for
So
that.
we are actually short of time. There's paucity of time. So you can connect with the panelists offline, if you don't mind. And all of you all can please connect with the panelists offline. They are available to take your question answers after the session. Right? Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you everyone for being a very patient audience.
Thank you, our host, and all the panelists for an insightful discussion.